So, a few weeks back, I did a video talking about the ROG Strix RTX 3090 too many suffixes edition, and talk about why for many people that is the ultimate RTX 3090 currently available, because of it having the highest clocks, and also because it didn't suffer from the same shutdown issues as many other RTX 3090s at that time. But now there is a new contender for that crown, and that is the Gigabyte RTX 3090 Aorus Xtreme, which promises to boast the exact same clocks as the ROG Strix card. So which one is truly the ultimate RTX 3090 then? Well, let's compare the two in this video so you know which one to buy. At least of course that is if you one, have the money, and two, can find any of them in stock. So firstly, looking at them, they may seem like pretty identical cards, right? Similar enough in design, 3 fans and all, identical in clocks, and identical in the overall theoretical performance. But there is quite a few things that sets those cards apart. Firstly, if you're planning on plugging in a lot of monitors, then the Aorus Xtreme is definitely your friend, as the Aorus Xtreme has 6 display outputs compared to the 5 seen on the ROG Strix, with 3 HDMI and 3 display ports. Now naturally that is a difference only one, but that is something to keep in mind, so that's definitely a point towards the Aorus card. But let's talk about something that's pretty important for RTX 3090 cards, and that is cooling. Now we do have numbers for the ROG Strix card, but the Aorus Xtreme is still pretty new, so exact numbers aren't readily available online just yet. However, we can do some quick and dirty maths. And I know that some people are gonna get mad at me for using this method to figure out what the cooling would be out on this card, but like whatever, we don't have better numbers. But there is one thing we can do, and that is compare the physical dimensions of both cards to see which one has, well, more cooler attached to it. So even though the length and the width of both cards is pretty much identical, keeping to the Nvidia spec I assume, the height is different, with about 5.8 centimeters for the ROG Strix and 7 centimeters for the Aorus Xtreme. So yeah, the RTX 3090 Aorus Xtreme is quite the thick boy, as you can tell. And as you can tell from some of the photos, and as you can tell from photos of the two cards, you can tell that the Aorus card is definitely a bit thicker, with a bit more heatsink to it. So it all points towards the Aorus card having at least slightly better thermal performance than the ROG Strix. But now let's talk about the main thing that has been causing an outrage for all RTX 3090 users, or at least most of them, or at least some of them that are very vocal on the internet, and that is the crashing issues. Now the ROG card was hailed at the time because it didn't have such problems, and one thing to keep in mind is that all previous Gigabyte RTX 3090 cards did use the pulse cap capacitors that many people assumed is the cause of these issues. Also, seeing how quickly these news faded out, we can kind of assume that it wasn't as big of a deal as at first we imagined. Because when's the last time you've seen anyone talk about the RTX 3080 and 3090 crashing issues, huh? Plus, seeing how this is the Gigabyte flagship for the RTX 3090s, you assume that they'll put every care into it to make sure that the power delivery is actually stable in it, especially since it's supposed to overclock as far as the ROG Strix. Additionally, it looks like a lot of the issue was fixed just using drivers, and many graphics cards no longer have the same crashing issues just after Nvidia released some updated drivers. So it's definitely way less of a worry now than it has been before. And if you're a gamer, let's talk about what will be the most important feature to you: RGB. Both cards of course have RGB, with the Aorus card being controlled by Gigabyte's RGB Fusion and the ROG card being controlled by ASUS ROG Sync, both of which are not the best software experience. So yeah, take that as you will. Like, seeing how badly companies want their cards to have RGB, you would imagine that they would have made the software better by now, to kind of, you know, sell that feature to customers, but nope. Oh, whatever, maybe in time they'll improve them. If you really care about RGB that much, I guess the best thing I can say is that the software experience will be about as bad on both cards. But another thing to keep in mind is that recently Corsair added support for ASUS motherboards in the Corsair iQ RGB software, and many people believe that ASUS graphics cards will be next on the agenda, meaning that if you really care about syncing up everything RGB in your PC into a single software, and you also happen to use a lot of stuff from Corsair using Corsair's iQ software, then this is something to definitely look out for, because it looks like very soon, if you do go for an ROG graphics card, you'll be able to sync even that up with your Corsair iQ software. However, kind of related to RGB, the Aorus card has another very interesting ace up its sleeve. It has a screen on it. That's right, the card has a little display on it that can display the temperatures or literally anything else you want. Now that is actually really cool. You can literally have a display a GIF, the temperature, the fan speed, anything you like. You can just put it on the screen, and I honestly think that is really awesome. And then of course there's some other issues regarding all RTX 3090s you have to remember, like them being super power hungry, and both cards require 3 8-pin power cables, which is absolutely insane. And of course there's the main problem, and that is shortages. So for many people who just don't care about these little differences, they may just go for the card that they can find first. Though also seeing how the Aorus card came out a bit later, I hope that at least means that Gigabyte had time to build us some stock. We'll just have to wait and see how the next few weeks will go to see exactly how the stock situation has changed. So overall between the two cards, even though they're very similar, Gigabyte's RTX 3090 Aorus Xtreme does have a few things going for it that the ROG card doesn't. And seeing how they're also very similar in price, well, it looks like the tide has turned, and that the Aorus Xtreme may actually become the, flagship RTX 3090 just at all, for all companies. But we'll just have to wait and see. Both cards are still pretty amazing, but if you really want all the bells and whistles, I would say go for the RTX 3090 Aorus Xtreme. But again, it's up to you. Compare the cards, see what features you need, and make up your mind. And of course, see which ones are actually in store. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this quick little comparison of both. If you did, check out my channel's Patreon, which is going to be down in the video description below. Because even $1 a month goes a long way in helping my channel, and also allows me to make way better videos and some videos on way more interesting topics. I also like to find my Patreons, Gavin Buds and RKB. Thank you ever so much. Down there you can also find our Amazon links if you want to support the channel that way, because if you buy anything on there, we get some money, you don't pay anything extra, it's a win-win. I'll have them linked to some really good power supplies that will be able to drive an RTX 3090 if you decide to buy one, because to be honest, you'll probably need a PSU update. Down there is also my Discord if you want to talk to me about this or whatever else really, but I guess really it's, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. If you did, remember subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in what I make next. Goodbye everyone, goodbye.